Dillard, and this is my submission for In Conversation about smartphones in meetings. So first, I just want to ask, do any of you have any experience using your smartphone while you're in the middle of a meeting?
Well, actually, I think where I work, it's kind of a younger environment, and I'm always kind of, you know, around kind of, I guess our age, a little younger, a little older, kind of a good range. A lot of people, I think it's almost normal culture now to almost see people texting or going through emails during a meeting while they're on the phone, almost like it's okay.
Is it work related or is it like social media or
I
games?
think it's usually a little bit of everything.
Do you think there's an advantage or like a reason why that's so popular or?
I honestly think it's now just part of the social norm. I think it's kind of when you go somewhere and you go out with a bunch of friends to a restaurant or a bar or something. I think it's almost normal to be talking to somebody and still be talking to somebody else on your phone.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it kind of goes into work sometimes.
And that kind of brings up an interesting point, because I know there's something that's making the rounds right now, that if a group of people from work go out to have dinner, they'll have to put their cell phones in the middle of the table, and the first one to go for their cell phone pays the tab. Because it has become very pervasive in our society. In what I do a lot of training classes, and I have a lot of meetings, and I have to teach people things, and a lot of it's regarding safety, so they have to get it. Their lives are on the line. And to see somebody sitting there playing on their phone, responding to a message or a tweet or something like that, it covers a lot of negative emotions for me, because one, they're disrespecting me. I'm trying to really help these people, help their careers, maybe even save their lives or lives of somebody else. They're operating trucks in the public. And it shows, so it shows a lack of respect for the industry and the people around you, because it doesn't just keep them from doing it, everybody else notices. When somebody in a room is doing something, that gets people noticed. Mm-hmm. And where they should be paying attention is to whoever's doing the presentation. And from my experience, and more than likely, more often than not, a great percentage of the time, they're the ones that'll come up afterwards and ask a question. Or a week down the road, have a problem because they weren't listening.
Or ask for the meeting notes.
Yeah. Right.
And yeah, we have handouts, but there's more to a meeting than a handout. Mm-hmm. We can read something, and okay, you get something out of it, but when there's somebody talking to you, giving you real life examples, and trying to make it, learning is more than just reading a page.
Yeah.
It's listening, it's engaging, it's hearing, it's the whole shot. So it's, I know it's a popular part of culture, but when it comes to meetings, the lack of respect and the negativity that comes about it, you don't learn things.
Yeah.
I think causes a problem.
Just real quick, I think you touched on something that I think is really important about it, and that's that it's not just you that's being distracted when you're sitting there playing, Farmville or whatever, or Candy Crush. It's the people sitting behind you. They're gonna have this bright light now, and maybe they're gonna sit there and all of a sudden be distracted because now they're bored and they want to see what you're doing. And I know that for me, even as a student, I haven't really been in an actual classroom in probably about 10 years. So my most relevant experience would be when I go to my assistant manager meetings and all the executives take turn talking. And usually at first I listen, but then a little bit on, I don't really use my smartphone. I'm good at that because I know that my district manager is watching me, and it's more about I want to be perceived like I'm listening. And I see other people doing that. Honestly, I don't see the advantage, but I've realized that I tend to distract myself. I kind of start to daydream a little bit, and I kind of start doodling on my paper, and it's weird because like smartphones, I think you can distract other people, but you can still kind of distract yourself just by kind of letting yourself get bored. And so, it's kind of like, is it really worse? Or, can you really ensure that just because they have their eyeballs on you, are you actually engaging them?
Yeah, that's a point I like to come up with when anybody talks about technology or smartphones or social media, is I like to say, step back a little bit, put a little perspective on it, because is it really the social media? It's a habit of, blaming whatever the new technology is. It's just blaming the new thing when it's something that we've always done, when we've all done together. We've You know, like you put out a handout in a meeting, and someone would sit there and read the handout instead of listen to what you're saying. It's
Or
not
drawing on
really
the side, like I would.
right.
Yeah.
It's not the smartphone's problem. But I do have to concede that with smartphones, they do something that no other form of the technology or distraction or whatever has ever done before, and that's this. They physically cry out for our attention.
Yeah.
The light will come on, it'll vibrate, it'll make a little dingy dingy noise.
It's kind of Pavlovian in a way, where then it's like you hear that dingy dingy.
Your brain's gone.
Your brain's instantly like, even if you don't like when I'm at my meetings, and even if I keep my phone in my pocket, I'm still wondering, is that Mitchell? Is it something important? Is it my work? I've actually been at a meeting where we were touring the warehouse actually, and my phone went off twice, and I was trying to ignore it, and it turns out it was my store, and they were having a very serious problem, and they had nobody to get a hold of. And I ended up having to excuse myself, and if I hadn't have done that, then, who knows what would have happened. So it's just, it's tricky, I think, you kind of, in the article, they mentioned in a story where there's some guy, an executive, and every time somebody goes into a meeting, they have to put their phone into a bowl. And I think that's a good concept, but then what if these are other very important people, and what if there's something that they really need to attend to, and they're sitting around kind of eating bagels, and at that point, they just... So it's kind of, I think, a mixing where I think it is disrespectful if you are just kind of like dilly-dallying while, a safety meeting, but at the same time, it's kind of nice to be able to, which I think is kind of a different problem we don't have time to talk about, but always being on call. And being available when other people need you, even if you are in a meeting.
So it's about moderation. It's about how you use it and how you let it use you.
Yeah, I think just waiting to respond, if you see why it's buzzing, and then see if it needs to be attended to, otherwise refocus.
Yeah.
But thank you, and I hope that you guys got something out of this today, and I appreciate you being a part of it.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.